World Bank Board of Directors approved that fresh $1.57 billion funding support for Nigeria's education and healthcare sectors, including the maintenance of dams and irrigation services in the face of climate change challenges. And chatting to me on this latest development from our Abuja studios is Professor Ken Ife. Professor Ken is a development economist and a public policy analyst. A great Monday evening to you, Professor, and we thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate
Thank you for having me.
What do you make of this latest World Bank loan for Nigeria? Let's start from there.
No, I think it's actually long overdue. And I'll tell you why. If you look at most socioeconomic indicators, Nigeria runs at the very last quartile, and usually around 150, 164 over 175. I mean, we are bottom. We run bottom at the end of all of that. And if I give you just a few examples, one is if you look at United Nations Human Development Index, there are roughly 4 parameters. They look at fertility, they look at mortality, infant mortality and maternal mortality, and then also they look at life expectancy. In all of those, we are scoring about 0.535, which ranks us at 163 over 175. And our average life expectancy is about 54 years, 54.4 something years. That's too low. Now you come to things like poverty index. We are running about 38.8% on poverty index. And of course, you know that the multidimensional poverty, we have 133 million people in that net. Also, you have the World Bank Human Capital Development Index. Now, this measures what you expect from a child born today. What do you expect in the next 18 years? That's what it measures. And we are coming at 0.36, making us number 168 all over 174. I mean, these are pathetic figures. And also you look at the global one, which is called World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Index. That's very broad, looking at education, health, all kinds of parameters. Again, there, we're only scoring about 3.3, making us 125 out of 131. So in all of this, I'm glad that Professor Ali Patti, who you know is a square peg in a square hole, and is very cerebral and very practical in delivery, he has put his finger on what Nigeria needs to do. And legally, we have Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007, which provides for borrowing only for capital expenditure and human resource development. And the human resource development are education, health, and employment. And of course, it includes enterprise. Employment, enterprise. So he is covered by law. He's going to the bottom of the sink where Nigeria is to bring us out of that dude. And I looked at that. That borrowing, of course, is split into 3. 570 million goes for the health-related matter. Then you have the other 500 million for the water. And then, of course, the third one, that is the dams and all of that, and power. But the third one is actually still around that health and education, but it is at the governance level, the level of governance, which is another 500 billion. Because you will remember that much of the bottlenecks are actually at the level of the bureaucracy and governance. And I can give you what you can compare to this. We have the World Bank Ease of Doing Business, which, as you know, it was masterminded by the former Vice President Osibanjo, and Nigeria actually did well because at some point we moved 24 points, ahead up. So that is what you should compare to it, and eventually it all ended with an omnibus bill that actually captured all facets of ease of doing business. We need a similar thing at the socioeconomic end, and that is what this is going for.
Professor, you laid this well out, and I went through this press statement earlier today by the World Bank. The World Bank indicated that the $1.57 billion was to help address governance issues, and that's just like hitting the nail on the head, as it were, in a manner of speaking. These governance issues, according to the World Bank, prevents the delivery of education and healthcare in Nigeria. Break that down for me. You talk about bureaucracy. Why is it so difficult for us to budget every year, no matter how little, into education and healthcare, maternal mortality, prevent infant mortality, yet we have a bureaucracy, we have a civil service or public sector that failed to deliver value for money. Now we've got $500 million from the World Bank to pour down the same pipeline.
Well, one thing I would say is, when you look at some of these, I mean, we've just mentioned those around the Human Development Index, the UNDP Human Development Index, those infant mortality, maternal mortality, life expectancy, and of course, the other one, the very first one. So those popping up, they're all areas of the primary health care service delivery. And there are two aspects of it. There is the statutory, regulatory, and the policy legislative environment, which is around governance. And then there is the practical delivery. And this delivery is both from federal and state and primary and local government. So the second segment is really about the delivery at those three tiers of governance, of government. Whereas a lot of the others are about unlocking the challenges around government policy and how government. So you might find that a lot of it will be to do with amending certain laws to amend and making sure that the enforcement of those, the delivery of them are practicable, and then also enforcement-related issues. And because in enforcement, the penalties have to come in that is commensurate with the size of the face. Then you look at the other area where there may be laws that need to be amended. And all of them could even be brought together into an omnibus law that deals with all aspects of it. You cannot underestimate how many such regulations that may have to be amended, because they involve so many delivery agents and so many agencies here and there that are operating. Some of them are duplicated here and now, and you could see Orasayo report looking at some of those. So there are a lot of issues and bottlenecks in the bureaucracy that will have to be unlocked. And that's what that resource is going for. And of course, Central World Bank has learned some of their lessons. They won't give you these monies for you to do as you like. They will be pinning down indicators that you have to deliver. And you know, as I've just started by mentioning some of those socioeconomic indicators where we have been boarding last, they will be seeing that they may be requiring them to make significant advance, move by 10 points, 15 points. So there will be performance indicators that will be fixated upon to make sure that we'll get value for our money. And then, of course, some of the will be to unlock private sector participation, because you could see also PPP. In the area of health, last budget put a lot of money in health, which is very appreciated, about over 7%. And more resources are being attracted to the health. And it's partly to do with the kind of minister that you have there, who is actually on the ground. And so it's attracting all these resources, and there's confidence from the development community that he will deliver, because he has a track record in delivering. So I think, on balance, I think we're going to get a lot of benefit from this program.
This $1.57 billion could be described as a vote of confidence in the Tinubu's administration as far as these areas are concerned, because the World Bank, according to this press statement, just pulled this money together and says this should be able to benefit 40 million Nigerians, especially the vulnerable populations. And this fund's coming from the IDA, from a couple of other global financing facilities for women, children, and adolescents, and others, the Commonwealth, UK Foreign Development Office, and all of that. So this is a global money that is being put in Nigeria, on the table for Nigeria. So, but why is education and healthcare priority funding as indicated by the World Bank for this particular loan? You mentioned states and local governments down the bottom of the pyramid. How do you think this should go, considering where we are right now, if you take out politics and whatever? And how do you see these agencies, especially for healthcare, Ministry of Health, Education as well? Then we'll get to water and irrigation a bit later in the conversation. But let's talk about education and healthcare first. Why a priority funding?
Now, you see, there is, we have to prioritize our greatest asset. Our greatest asset is human capital. That's our greatest asset. Look, Japan hasn't got, name one mineral that Japan has. But Japan became #2 economy in the world and #3 now simply because of their investment in human capacity. Electronics, car manufacturing. All of that are investment in human capacity. It's not about solid mineral here and oil and gas and all of that. Human capacity development. That's what made them what they are. So Nigeria, 17 million Nigerians are in the diaspora, turning in $26 million into our economy. Nigeria has go to New York, go to Maryland, go to many parts of, you have more doctors there than you have in Lagos or you have in any of our states. So we should invest in our human capital, and we have the youngest population. Those who are under 39 years are about 70% of our population. So we have to invest in those. It's not like the European countries where it is the reverse. Over 60% of the population are over the age of 60. So it's a different thing. We have to invest in this human capital so that they can turn, and then look at the service sector. Service sector is human capacity that is driving the service sector. ICT, name it, financial services, and then outsourcing and the digital economy. All of them are human resource. So we have to invest in those. And there can never be enough. Our challenge has been, it was up until now represented as a sink. Anything that goes there gets lost. And then you can't hold them to anything. We haven't got performance parameters to hold them now, but it's a different story. And so I'm glad that the World Bank is putting money there with very, very stringent targets that they have to meet. And it's very pointed. It's pointing at a group. And then those groups, you can't wish it away. There are particular groups that are targeting with this. So it's not wishy-washy funding. It's targeting certain groups and demanding the number, 40 million. That is the RAP. And then we also have the indices that shows our performance. And we've got to move forward with those performances and break that jinx.
Interesting. Let's chat to the dams, safety and irrigation services for farmers in the light of climate change challenges. Of course, we all witness very heart-rending images, pictures and videos out of what came out of Maiduguri in Borno State and other parts of the country. 2012 was not too far long ago. The whole crisis in flooding all the way to Bayelsa State, the presidential committee back then and all of that. What do you expect to see across the board in line with this World Bank and REACH funding to help farmers as far as irrigation is concerned, as well as dams as well?
You know, we have challenges in our country. We have over 300 dams. And only a handful of these dams can boast of irrigation or even power. And then aquaculture should be in every dam. Not throwing fish inside the dam, but if you have a spillway, you know the spillway, let's say it's about 2 meters up, and then below it, water can go, and you have banks and banks of concrete ponds, and get all these women to run them as cooperatives. Water is reticulating by gravity. You don't need power. Then you don't buy water. So it's similar. Nothing of those is happening. And then you have 11 to 12 river basins. And you go there. There are graveyards. Nothing's going on there. So we have all these resources, but they're hardly used. And then where we're supposed to have dam, we don't have dam there. Why are we not damming the River Niger? And why are we not damming River Benue? So that when they release water from Cameroon, it goes into 1 or 2 dams and then reduce the flooding that comes around with it. But we leave all those that are causing havoc, and we have dams all over the country, and then we're not using them. So I think there is a sense that we should get, and you can also capture some indicators on those and make sure that we can be better prepared to fight the climate change. It's devastation. And look at what happened in Maiduguri. And these things will continue to happen every year. There's prediction and prediction and prediction, but very little is done constructively to deal with what the challenge should be. Create any new dam. There's some of the money here will also pay for the design of some dams. I'm not sure which one they are going to design, but there will be one. We definitely need something in Benue, at least 1 or 2 that will take the,
Yes, as Professor, just to come in quickly there, it says the dams to protect citizens from flood and drought through enhanced dam safety and operations. That means we need to put perhaps some cement, some concrete, whatever, to support these dams locally. But again, we need to enhance them for economic activities, not just water sitting there, but we need to do fishery. We need to do, if we can generate power, whatever we can from these dams that are all sitting across the country. There's a whole lot here, which the World Bank also said we should irrigation and drainage services over about 40,000 hectares of land. How quickly do you think we should start to get these things done? Since this money will be available, the World Bank will not just give it to anybody just to blow, but just to go for project by project. How quickly do you think we should hit the ground running on this?
No, I don't see that a rocket science, because we already have the plains, we already have the river basins, 12 of them that are already there. Some have infrastructure, some don't have infrastructure. And then you already have farming communities around many of these dams. I'm just giving you an example. There is no dam that you cannot implement hundreds of batteries, concrete battery fish cages that you can have there. And then you can even have cages inside the dam in some location close where you can also grow some fish like tilapia. So we do have 40,000 is not a big number, because I'm thinking we should even have as much as 400,000 hectares. Thinking about the fact that we have almost 300 dams in the country. In Oyo State alone, we have over 15 dams, and they are using them very well on aquaculture. That's why they are supplying most of the fresh fish that we are eating in the country. They've made judicious use of the dams that are in all that abandoned area and all that. But that's not the same in most part of in the whole of Southeast. I don't even see dam in Southeast. But we should use most of those dams to support our agriculture. Otherwise, it's going to be a much bleaker future, as we go along.
Well, what the World Bank Country Director for Nigeria says, Dr. Jami Diop, was that he's expecting that this funding for flood and irrigation mitigation in Nigeria will help to also increase our hydropower generation. Is this something that you think we should also get the Ministry of Power on board into this particular funding, $1.57 billion?
Why not? Why not? Now, UNIDO has a program where they generate 1 megawatt, 0.5 megawatt from just simple streams, as long as you have a gradient. They generate, let alone when dams have been built. Just ordinary river, they will just come and give 500,000 grants for each 1 megawatt. If it is 2, you have about 1 million or 2 million. So the facility exists. And they are going around studying and doing small dams, mini dams, micro dams in small streams, let alone when you have already invested billions of naira in building all these dams.
Most of these dams were built by the World Bank 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, Professor Ken, isn't it?
No, correct.
They were built by the World Bank.
But the utility of those, some of them were built by World Bank, yes. Mm.
But we haven't really put them to use. So sometimes you try to understand why we still don't have electricity when you have several hundreds of dams. Nigeria is so blessed with apart from the ocean, you've got rivers, you've got tributaries and whatsoever all across down to the Delta region where it all goes estuaries into the ocean, as it were. So how much more in terms of responsible, what agencies of the government do you think should be responsible for managing this fund disbursement? What level of transparency, Professor K, would you like to see in managing this $1.57 billion, which of course, one way or the other, increases Nigeria's debt portfolio?
Well, it has to be led by the Ministry of Water Resources. But one problem we have in our country is the fact that they all operate in silos. Agriculture used to be with Ministry of Water Resources. It's agriculture and water resources, science and technology. They all have to work together, and the energy. The energy. So at the moment, the talk is only about gas. Gas has a role to play, but gas is not a renewable energy. Water is. Dam is. it's clean energy. Dam is clean energy. And like I say that, so you have to have all these ministries to work together, even environment as well, because environment is concerned about the fallout of the flood. And so they should be involved. So when you have if you have more ministries working together in partnership, then they can aggregate their resources. And then also they can work together to access those external intervention funds, and then also access service-wide vote. A service-wide vote is not purely for any one ministry, but when you have group of ministries working together, just like in the bioeconomy, then they can access some of those. But it is getting our ministries out of their silo mentality. And of course you know that silo mentality is driven by corruption. You know that. You just want to have it all by yourself, forgetting that there's no such thing as...
No man is an island when it comes to economic management or in business or running business.
Yes,
no man is an island, virtually in everything and in anything under the sun. Thank you so much. We really appreciate those insights from you on
but the most important thing, though...
Yes.
Yeah, but the most important thing, though, is to engage private sector in PPPs, because it is the failure to engage private sector in PPP. That's why you have 300 dams and nothing is going on. Get the private sector in, 300 big companies or 100 big companies will go in, small companies, they will go in and begin to make use of these dams. Interesting
scenarios and bringing us those insights from your work that you do on the ground over the years. Thank you so much, Professor Ken Ife from our Abuja studios. We appreciate it as always. Thank you for tonight. Okay.